I was just going to say, since 2011, since the $2.8 billion worth of damage and 160 individuals killed, anytime there's a tornado in that area, it's big news, and everybody's on high alert. I went down a year after and did some reporting in 2012 on how far that city had come. And I was somewhat familiar with Joplin because my brother had started in television and radio down there. And I didn't even, it was incredible, the path of destruction that went on. And at that time, the old Mercy Hospital was still it was still up, and it was a wreck. And it was a year later. So yeah, it's big news anytime there's a storm that rolls through Joplin since 2011. You can understand why.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, you just can. I mean, you don't get. And I think people in St. Louis feel that way too. Hearing from some friends in the Central West End whose houses were definitely impacted by our May 16th tornado, and they said, "You guys, you just don't understand. When we see those dark clouds now, it elicits just a physical response, a trauma response, really." And so that's going to be the new normal here for so many of the people that were impacted in that same way, I think, in relation to what you just said as well. So you are moving from Springfield back to St. Louis. St. Louisans very glad to have you back living at home. And one of the big draws we were talking about earlier this morning before we got on the air are the adorable grandkids that are all congregated in the greater St. Louis area. So do they have plans for you two, for your wife and you? Well, they've got you in town for a few days here?
Well, she's basically living here. We're living apart.
Because the grandkids win?
Yes. Oh, there's no question about that, and I understand it. But, I was given an option by my GM who hired me in Springfield. He suggested in 2021, he said, you don't have to sell your house. Just commute. I didn't. In retrospect, I probably would have gone with that, even though I knew I'd probably be one and done. I just thought it doesn't send a good message that, you're 1 foot in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. A lot of people looked at me in Springfield like, what are you doing here anyway? It was a little bit off-putting, but I think that was probably, as I look back, probably pretty good suggestion by my former GM.
Well, hindsight's 20/20.
It always
as
is.
We like to say. Well, somebody who helps us look forward in all kinds of different events is our friend Jeff Zufall over at Capital Advisory Group. Jeff, senior tax strategist, wealth advisor, and he's somebody who just loves helping people and help the rest of us understand how our money can work for us and how we can feel comfortable in retirement, knowing that we have built a nest egg that's going to support us through the ups and downs that come in that wonderful season of life. Jeff has the expertise around taxes that is almost second to none in his industry. He's so passionate about it. He's written a #1 best-selling book on the subject called Keep What's Yours, which, of course, is the subject of the show he does every single weekend here with Josh Gilbert on KTRS, the Big 550, the talk of St. Louis. So tune into the show and reach out to Jeff this week to say, it's time for me to have a plan in place to know how to capitalize on both making sure I don't overpay my taxes and that I am investing my money for the long haul to support my desires in retirement. CapitalAdvisoryGroup.com, 636-394-5524. Time for us to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Make a splash this summer with Dogtown Pizza. The weather and the pizza ovens are heating up, so stock up on 12 different flavors of your favorite Dogtown. Why cook hamburgers on the grill when you can get a hamburger pizza? Hot chicken, the SOB and for me, and from the garden, tomato, basil, garlic, and the veggie. Make your next pool party a pizza party with 12 different flavors of Dogtown. One for every swimmer in your house. Make it a Dogtown summer at every local grocery store and dogtownpizza.com.
Something new is hidden inside City Museum, a twisting maze of metal and myth. Walls made of syrup tanks and Twinkie pans, glass from an old library, secrets behind every turn, and deep inside, a 2-story slide unlike anything before. The all-new 4th floor expansion, Labyrinth, is now open. You have to lose yourself to find your path. Play all summer with a summer play pass, only $34.99 at citymuseum.org.
At Maryville University, we power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
Electricity is very important because if you don't have electricity, you're sitting in the dark in more ways than one. And when the lights go out for one last time, maybe, just maybe, you want a whole home generator. Well, that's where Michael Baldy comes in, because Michael Baldy can do that. He's putting in a whole home generator for a friend of mine on the hill. Whether you live on the hill or a brand new home, at some point you're going to need some electrical help, and that's where Michael Baldy comes in. He's been an electrician since 1996, and he has a full team of electricians who will help you every single step of the way, whether it's a whole home generator, maybe some extra plugs for the Christmas lights, maybe it's something in the basement, something in the attic, maybe the garage. Doesn't matter. Whether it's an old Victorian home or a brand new commercial building, indoor or out, Michael Baldy, the electrician, has got to be on your phone. Put him on your speed dial, 314-968-9999, 314-968-9999. You can thank me later. Michael Baldy, BaldyElectric.com.
Since 1974, Permajack of St. Louis has been helping residential and commercial owners protect their biggest investment. From successfully solving foundation structural problems to making sure basements remain dry, Permajack has performed tens of thousands of projects on both sides of the river, utilizing state-of-the-art technology, techniques, and equipment. Permajack of St. Louis has done it with honesty and integrity, never recommending anything outside of what you really need. For many repairs, Permajack provides a transferable life of structure warranty, all while Permajack of St. Louis has earned a BBB A+ rating and accreditation. For foundation settlement, bowed or buckling walls, cracks in your foundation, walls or bricks, or basement waterproofing, choose the hometown family-owned team at Permajack of St. Louis. Schedule your free inspection and estimate at permajackofstlewis.com. That's permajackofstlewis.com. Permajack, solid as rock.
Hey, Heidi Glaus here, asking you to join us weekly as we present the KTRS Book Club, presented by the St. Louis County Library for readers of every generation. Books transport us anywhere our imagination wants to go. They are absolutely magical. The KTRS Book Club will introduce you to local and national authors, events, and special programs presented by the St. Louis County Library every week from 3 to 6 right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
It's Julie Buck here to tell you that the patio is open at Bishop's Post right next to Chesterfield Mall. Get your reservations in now and go to Bishop's Post. You will love it. Tell them Julie Buck sent you, bishopspost.com.
And now the opening dialogue with Frank and Jill on the Big 550 KTRS.
Powered by Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Welcome back, Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer, Steve Sabard sitting in for Frank today. Steve, so many texts coming in the Royal Banks of Missouri text line, welcoming you back. People love listening to you again.
Yeah, what I'm asking, did my children attend Shenandoah Valley Elementary School? Yes. I'm a retired educator from Shenandoah Valley. Yes, great times.
Yeah, it was good. And we had a fun day yesterday reconnecting with an elementary school teacher who had you come into her classroom every single year.
Stacy Butts.
Stacy Butts, just by coincidence, if you believe in that. We featured her son in a great interview yesterday, and I loved seeing the two of you connect and the picture she had from all those years back.
I can say this just from visiting her class and staying in touch with her for 30 years. If you had a child that was educated and touched in the classroom in an educational way by Stacy Butts, your child is the better for it.
Yeah, I think you speak
She's
the truth.
She's a quality person and quality teacher.
This is going to embarrass you, but the pictures of the kids in that first grade class she had from St. Anthony's at Padua,
yeah,
Padua where it started, they are now 41.
They're in Social Security.
They're now 41 years old now.
No.
But you still look the same. You really do.
I don't look
she had the
same,
picture of you. You
thank
do.
you. God bless you.
I speak from objectivity there. It's really true. So something that was in your eyesight for many, many, many years while you were at KMOV here in town, Steve, of course, was the Millennium Hotel. Big news that the Arch Foundation purchased the hotel. The I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. The news this morning is that the Gateway Arch Foundation representatives who got inside of it, now that they're the owners of it, have said, yes, it's bad, it's really bad in there, perhaps even worse than anybody could have expected. And they said it's just in terrible shape. It's stuff like asbestos, mold, toxic things that need to come out of the building. They knew, and that's why it had never sold and been developed commercially or privately, is they knew that was the big issue, is there was so much remediation that was going to be needed to be done before it could be saved. And that's why it was determined it needed to come down. But even before it comes down, some of this stuff has to be dealt with, and it's going to be a big issue. But I think most of us can agree that not having one of the most prominent profiles in our city landscape, or in the pictures of the skyline in our city, being an empty building is moving in the right direction.
I just drove past it in June on the way to the Dome to fill in for the great Andy Banker, doing some PA for the Battlehawks. And I drove right past there, and I thought to myself, I was trying to figure out when that closed. And I said, it's probably been 10 years at least. I think it was 2014. And I thought to myself exactly, whoever tries to develop that is going to step into an absolute mess.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, I didn't have any doubt about that, but I'm glad they're finally addressing that. That is prime real estate in downtown St. Louis. Speaking of real estate, St. Louis, according to Realtor.com, here's some good news, especially for a guy who's in Springfield who is trying to sell a home where the market is dead, at least in our price range. St. Louis is, according to Realtor.com, now one of 3 remaining affordable housing markets among big cities. They mention St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. The median home price across the country is now at $440,000 a year. St. Louis checks in at $299,000. Now, the other 2 cities mentioned, Pittsburgh and Detroit, are cheaper. Median home price in Pittsburgh, $249,000. Median home price in Detroit, $270,000. But St. Louis still remains, according to Realtor.com, and they should know, they're slightly immersed in the topic, one of the 3 noteworthy affordable housing cities in the Midwest anyway.
That's good. That is great news. And I find that the younger generation of folks tend to be sometimes more willing to go into areas that are lower priced for whatever the variation of reasons are. People coming into St. Louis, and that helps our market when they go in and do nice things to houses and help either hold steady or increase the value of the homes in those areas.
Well, we had the good fortune of selling and buying down there, selling here in 2021 when it was a great environment. Mortgage rates and everything else. You got to live by the other side of the sword once in a while. Right now, I think all it will take is a mortgage rate reduction or 2. And I think people start moving again.
When you reach the level in life, we'll call it, rather than the age
of certain vintage,
if you have sold and bought houses through the years, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some.
Exactly right.
Just
and I've been
how
fortunate. I have to say, we've won more than we've lost.
Yes.
So we're not panicked, but people are asking me, why have you moved back to St. Louis yet? We're trying to streamline our life and trying to get a house sold first.
Yes, it's a lot more fun when there's a bidding war on your house when you're selling, and when you're the buyer and you get to set the price and they have to live with it. And I've had the advantage of being on both sides of the coin in both of those situations. And it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles in many situations. Well, kind of a fun story coming out of the New York Times, which was, and Connor, I definitely want you weighing in on this one too, which is the top movies of all time according to their readers, right? This is not the critics weighing in for the first time. I would not have guessed any of the top 5 that the readers voted on. And they're all they're all movies that I think are within, let's say, the last 15 years. They did not go back any further than that in the top 5.
Wasn't the list actually of the 21st century? Am I mistaken?
No,
what you're talking
you're
about?
right. Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is in the last 20. It's the last.
So
20
it's
years.
in the last 25 years. I did already see this list. I participated. I looked at. They also had lists from different directors and actors and stuff like that. And it's interesting to look at.
So this thing that surprised me. See if this surprises you at all, Steve. Parasite was number 1.
Okay, we're talking about a very young audience here.
Okay, exactly. But again,
well, you're talking about movies only since 2000, Steve.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
But even then, Parasite would not have made his list.
I think you were privy to my list that we had with Rammer just a couple weeks ago.
I did. I do remember parts of your list. I don't know if
that
you
went
had
all the way
one in
back
last
to
25.
1940s.
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive number 2, No Country for Old Men number 3.
Great one.
There Will Be Blood, which I did not see. Did you guys see it?
Yes,
Of course. You haven't
many
seen that
times.
one?
He's an
No.
amazing actor. He really is.
Okay,
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Interstellar number 5. I really liked Interstellar. Dark Knight number 6, too dark for me. Mad Max number 7. Spirited Away. That's an anime movie.
It's an animated film from a Japanese studio.
Okay, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, that was good, and then The Social Network is number 10. I just that surprised me, and it goes to show you, I think, what you've said many times, Connor. I think you haven't said it explicitly, but implicitly, my taste in movies runs to the unsophisticated,
Well,
and I think that's why none of mine.
I would never say that out loud to you, at least. You
But,
don't want to hurt any feelings.
You're not going to hurt
but,
my feelings. I'm tougher than that, but yes, I think that's
I mean,
true.
the surprise for me was Parasite, but it's kind of a little recency bias, maybe captured in the moment. Came out, I think, 5 years ago now. But I don't think many other on the list surprised me that much.
Okay, good to know. Thought number 2 from you.
I drove in yesterday without. I don't listen to people's voices when I'm driving. I don't listen to podcasts. I'm that weird guy.
Okay, you're just a music guy, huh?
I'm a music guy for the most part. Don't listen to a lot of talk radio. I will when I'm in St. Louis, especially the big 550 KTRS. Podcasts. There are 4.4 million worldwide, and I'm starting to come around a little bit here.
Okay.
On average, listeners spend 7 hours a week. The average listener, if you're tuned in, 22% of podcast listeners describe to 70 podcasts or more. Now, it's a feast or famine deal. Joe Rogan, of course, everybody points to Joe Rogan and says, hey, you can make great money. Joe Rogan's the exception, okay? $250 million deal recently with Spotify, up to about $60 million a year. Here's the sobering truth. Only 5% of podcasts make it to 100 episodes. Only 5% to 100 episodes. It's tough to make a living. So what am I doing today? I'm meeting with people that want me to do a podcast later today.
Yeah, you know what?
Absolute truth.
I have a little bit of background in this because one of the things that I do when I'm wearing my other hat outside of my work that I love here at KTRS on the Frank and Jill Show is I do a lot of work in the healthcare field around the subject of burnout. And so a company that focuses on supporting physicians and keeping them doing the work they do in the long term is one that I'd worked with for a number of times. And they sponsored a podcast called Doc Working, the whole physician podcast. We had 50,000 physician listeners.
Wow.
That's a pretty good...
That's a great response.
You would think a pretty prime demographic. They made $0 in advertising on that podcast because the numbers that the people want to have in terms of, because they say people will click in, they don't really listen, that doesn't count. So they magnify it. They want millions of listeners before you can generate that into that kind of ad revenue people are talking about. It was a fun, interesting, I got to interview top authors in the field of medicine, physicians from everywhere, from Harvard to WashU, you name it. And it was not a revenue producer, I will say.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Again, it can be interesting, but it's not an automatic.
And it was meaningful, and I liked it. It's not.
But
I'm
it's
not
not
saying
an
it was
automatic
futile.
moneymaker for
No,
people.
no. I think a lot of people think that's going to be the
I think
thing.
it's just you snap your finger. Oh, you got a big name. People will pay for it.
Fun book recommendation. So Ina Garten, who many of us have enjoyed watching her on the Food Network, cooking from her cookbooks, the Barefoot Contessa, of course. She wrote a pretty great, I thought, a memoir in the last year, a biography called Be Ready When Luck Happens, a memoir. In one of the book clubs that I'm in, we read the book for this month, and then last night, the person who hosted book club, we all brought an item from one of our favorite items from an Ina Garten cookbook, and it was out of this world,
Wow.
I have to say. It was foolproof. I think proof of how much...
What was your favorite?
I would say there was a tomato and feta salad that was simple and perfectly in season, but there was also a farro grain salad that was really, really good, a strawberry cake. Everybody kind of
What was on the tomato and feta? Was it a balsamic?
It was a vinaigrette, but I think it was more of a lemon-based vinaigrette.
Oh,
it
perfect
was
for me.
Just really good, really clean, really healthy, really simple. I cooked one of her chicken recipes that was simple and foolproof, but it was really fun. And if you like Ina, if you guys that are listening are fans at all, I think her memoir is interesting. It's candid. She says a lot of things that happened to her in her life were luck, but also she had some things that didn't go so well. And then she talks about those rather candidly And so I just thought it was an interesting discussion of somebody that is very high public profile to hear kind of the backstory of her life.
All right, so I'm going to transition to this. You talked about the health part of it. So if I do listen to a podcast, it has to be about health. It has to be somebody, an expert that
You
can.
like Huberman or
My wife loves Andrew Huberman. We listen to a
those
lot of
guys.
those.
Okay.
If we do listen, if we're on a trip, then we usually listen a lot to him because I like him. I like how he presents it.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
science-based stuff, though.
Yes, I had a great time talking with Dr. Rick when I was here filling in for you a couple months ago. Rick Lehman. I turned it to some of these health hacks, and that's what I love about social media. I love dog stories, pet stories, and I love veteran stories, and I love health hacks that can help me live a longer and better, more productive life. One thing I want to change here is share with folks here that there is an absolute correlation between the strength of your legs, quadriceps strength, and mortality. And it's study after study now. Higher quad strength is associated with a lower risk of all cause and cardiovascular mortality, especially those who have coronary artery disease. As much as 20% more mortality risk if you don't. This doesn't mean you need to go to the gym and squat 400 pounds
Good,
or
'cause
leg
that's not
press
happening.
1,000 pounds. Do what you can. Research that. If you don't believe it, look at the people. Steve Savard isn't coming up with this. Very smart people who have researched this and done studies are coming up with this information. And I think that's absolutely interesting.
Now, is this related to what I saw where because I've been trying to work really hard on the being able to stand and then sit down to the ground and then stand back up without my hands.
That's an example of quadriceps strength. If you didn't have that before and you worked on it and now you can do it 10 or 20 times, guess what? You're probably healthier than you were 3 months ago.
I can't.
I don't mean you specifically. I mean anybody.
Yeah, I can get up and down without my hands, but it's the whole sitting down cross-legged. I've got some knee flexion issues, but it's been a fun thing because the studies that show that people that can do that are much more likely to live longer in their life without any of those complications that you talked about.
Quality of life.
Yeah. We've talked a lot on the show about life. About health span versus lifespan.
And I think the point is it can be an incremental, a tiny improvement. It can be something that is within your reach. I think years ago we all thought of, no, you have to go to the gym, you have to do this, you have to do that. Anything that improves your strength and your viability, even walking. I'm a big fan of walking. Walk 30 to 40 minutes every morning. Instead of, I used to do what I consider now highly destructive HIIT interval training, cardiovascular. I try to get 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. I thought once upon a time in my life, I thought I'll never wear a watch to keep track of how many steps I take a day.
No.
And now I can't wait till I get to that target reached at 8,000.
That's great. Well,
anyway,
you
just
give us
something to look at. And if you have 5 minutes, look it up. Quadriceps strength and mortality.
Yeah, it's good. Very, very good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, we are so excited. It's finally here. Tomorrow night is the first movie night in the series of 2. Salvation Army teaming up, of course, with KTRS and some of our other friends here in St. Louis to make the Christmas season better for so many thousands of kids here in the St. Louis area. It's been a fun partnership. It's fun to see Christmas in July taking off, the toys coming in as we're a collection site here at the KTRS studios. And tomorrow night out here in the courtyard at Westport Plaza, you have the chance to bring your family, bring a blanket, bring some chairs, and watch Finding Nemo. At 8 o'clock it starts, but the fun starts way before then. Bring a new unwrapped toy for the donation. See Louie from the St. Louis Blues. He's going to be here from 6 to 7. There's going to be popcorn and snacks. And it's all to really get behind what I think we do so well in our St. Louis community, which is reaching out and supporting those who need it the most, including the kids who are supported by the Angel Toy Tree Project through the Salvation Army. Go to our website, ktrs.com, for more information, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night at our first movie night at Westport Plaza.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
We're not talking about a record heat here, but it is trending a little hotter over the next couple of days. Most of us are going to feel this. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy today. I'm going to take us up to 93 this afternoon, but it will feel like 96 at its worst. And once again, much like yesterday, a slight 10 to 20% chance of a thunder shower this afternoon. I expect dry times under mostly clear skies tonight, really fairly warm, down to 75 for the low. And then hotter on Friday. In fact, tomorrow probably the hottest of the next 10 days. 95 with a heat index just above 100 in the afternoon. And one more time, a slight chance of a spot thunder shower in the afternoon. Looks like some higher chances of rain around here on Saturday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers on the Big 550 KTRS.
John Bill Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
Bob Ramsey for AAA Home Services, a local, family-owned and family-run American Standard heating and air conditioning platinum dealer that's been keeping St. Louis comfortable and safe for 55 years. They service all brands, so schedule them to service your AC before it gets too hot. And if you need a new system, they'll give you a fair and honest estimate on American Standard, voted #1 by Consumer Reports. You'll get the best pricing and tax credits of 2025. Call AAA at 636-397-3200, online at AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way.
Repairing chimneys, walkways, porches, foundations, entire homes, anything to do with brick or stone, you need a tuck pointer you can trust, and that, of course, is Morelli. Morelli is a family-run business started in 1991, and they're only as good as their last customer. That's why when you check out the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll notice that they're actual customers who are singing the praises of Morelli. So if you need a tuck pointer, you need Morelli. 314-645-1387 or MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Got gold? Get green at Jewels on Hampton. Jewels on Hampton pays the most for your precious metals, jewelry, gems, currency, antiques, and collectibles. Jewels on Hampton buys precious and semi-precious gems and stones, scrap gold, and sterling silver. Jewels on Hampton buys and sells paper money, wristwatches, and pocket watches. They even take pianos and cars. To sum up, bring your gold chains, bracelets, rings, coins, dental gold, and more to Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton Avenue in St. Louis. And get green. Online at jewelsonhampton.com.
Worldwide Technology Raceway is the only track in America to host a NASCAR event, an IndyCar event, and an NHRA event.
They'll once again host the Bommarito 500 in August and the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs September 5th through the 7th. Get your tickets now at WWTRaceway.com.
The track, under the leadership of owner Curtis Francois, continues to upgrade the race experience for fans who come from around the country. For tickets, go to WWTRaceway.com.
That's WWTRaceway.com.
It's Julie Buck here for Dense Express STL. Let's talk about a live and local company that is really doing an incredible job. Let's shine a spotlight on this family-owned business. They are fantastic at what they do. And of course, they fix your car when you have dents. I mean, we've had a lot of hail damage that's gone around lately, and there are some people that like to put it off. Well, don't worry. You can still get this covered in most cases under insurance. And our friends at Dense Express STL will actually take care of the paperwork for you, because that's one of the things that I feel like deters people from getting that repair done. But do it. Get your car back to looking good, making your ride look smooth. Also minor collision repairs, Dense Express STL. And they do want you to make an appointment. That's the best thing to do. It's just to make an appointment. You can simply do that online, or you can call them. Find out more on their website. It's DenseExpressSTL.com with 2 locations, one in St. Charles and one in Baldwin.
.39 time check, Frank and Jill show. Jill Farmer, Steve Savard in for Frank for these last few days, Still working on my little bit of summer bronchitis that decided to take up residence, but I'm feeling pretty good today, and especially great because Professor of Political Science Anita Mannion from University of Missouri St. Louis, our favorite political analyst, is in the house. We heard so much news about the budget bill and the big push to get it passed about exactly 1 week ago today. Now the question is, how is that going to affect midterm elections? I know that's a big question and you don't have a crystal ball, but historically speaking, and what do you think we can expect here?
Yeah, this, the big, beautiful bill, as it is called, has so many different provisions in it. It's a monumental bill, over 1,000 pages. So it is a little complicated to figure out what provisions people might like and what they might not like. It extends those 2017 tax cuts. And so that's really a lot of what Republicans are touting. And so had they not done that, folks' taxes would have went up. And people don't like that. So I think the tax cuts in general favor the Republicans, but they also disproportionately benefit wealthier people who pay more taxes. Also, there are certain tax provisions like bumping the estate tax up from $14 million to $15 million that'll particularly affect wealthier Americans. And so those tax cuts do go disproportionately to wealthier Americans and corporations. So that's something they're going to have to contend with. What I think they've done that is smart as far as the midterm elections and even 2028 election is some of the unpopular provisions like cutting Medicaid, cutting SNAP benefits, student loan, making student loan payments higher for people. Those, most of them do not go into effect until after the midterms or until 2028. And that's very intentional.
Yeah, timing, I think, is that you're stealing. My follow-up question was going to be the timing. A lot of this won't be effective until after the midterms.
That's right. So the kind of goodies in there, the tax cuts, things like no tax on tip, increase in the deduction for Social Security, those go in right away. So you get the good stuff.
The no tax on tips, so there are some specific, it's not just a widespread piece of legislation. It has to be under a certain amount, cash-only tips.
That's correct.
And there are 2 or 3 provisions that cut it down more than just a broad tax cut.
You're exactly right. And, it does mean that, I waited tables. I don't know if you all have worked in tipped
yes.
jobs.
I think everyone should at some point in their
I
life.
do, too. And gosh, when you go to dinner with someone who hasn't, sometimes it shows. But, so people who work in those kind of jobs will benefit, but maybe you also make $25,000 working in the retailer across the street and you don't get the benefit of that. So I think that's an interesting dichotomy to see how that plays out, too.
So we've heard a lot from our listeners over the last week in discussions about this, that Governor Josh Hawley came in very hot around the subject of Medicaid cuts and said, it's going to disproportionately hurt rural hospitals. There was some provision to support rural hospitals that got slid into the bill toward the end. Is there going to be any political fallout for that sort of flipping that happened on that subject, or do you think that rural hospital support that came in was going to be enough to mitigate the criticism that there are Medicaid cuts in this bill?
I mean, I think the campaign ads will write themselves, right? You have the clip of saying, both Donald Trump and Josh Hawley and others saying we will not cut Medicaid, and then you have the CBO and other organizations' projections of these big cuts. So when you're talking about, 11, 12 million people potentially losing their Medicaid. But, Republicans would argue, well, we're not cutting the program. We're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse to shore up the program for those who deserve it, right? You're hearing a lot of arguments from them. So when you talk about messaging for the midterm, well, able-bodied men who are just playing video games in the basement shouldn't get free health care, when the data show that really is middle-aged women who are mostly the recipients of Medicaid.
Professor of Political Science from UMSL, Anita Mannion, with us here on the Frank and Jill Show. I want to talk about the Chiefs. Okay. And I think it relates because we went through this 12 years ago, trying to build a second stadium while still paying off the bonds on the Dome because a guy worth $8 to $10 billion was holding the city of St. Louis hostage.
Who is an enemy of St. Louis at this point.
Well, I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
Even former voice of the Rams can say that, okay? I've been following this very closely because working in Springfield the last 4 years. Springfield might as well be a suburb of Kansas City every Sunday afternoon.
Fair.
Springfieldians, Ozarks, they love their Chiefs football. And who wouldn't at this point? They've built a dynasty there.
Absolutely.
But to prove how hard it is to get voters, even now, with the run they've had under Andy Reid, recently Jackson County voters voted down a tax increase to ensure the new stadium could be built or renovations to Arrowhead could be built. Now, they're in no danger, those Chiefs fans, of losing their team. Even if they cross state lines, they're not leaving Kansas City. So good for the Hunts on that. But they're worth $25 billion. Right. There was no appetite outstate to help St. Louis build a second stadium 10 years ago. And a lot of people in these parts are understandably chapped about what's going on in Jefferson City and the governor being able to rally and get enough money to Kansas City. Look in your crystal ball. I'm not going to hold you to this. Are the Chiefs any closer to staying in Missouri rather than Kansas, which is putting on a big push to get the Chiefs and the Royals? Are they any closer now than they were 2 months ago to staying in Missouri, do you think?
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think they're any closer, but, they are kind of saying that timeline is a little softer, and so it gives Missouri a little more time to decide what they're going to do. But to your point, I think both outstate voters, as we saw in St. Louis, but also voters in general, sometimes see these sort of, bonds or tax levies as a subsidy for wealthy owners. Why should we pay for this stadium?
Welfare for billionaires.
Correct. When you just said it's a $25 billion enterprise.
Right.
And so why should we raise our taxes to help subsidize that? So that's the bipartisan challenge that they're facing.
Yeah.
And Governor Kehoe worked hard to kind of overcome that, especially on the St. Louis side of the legislators from the St. Louis side of the state who said, now, wait a second, Kansas City, you guys were not on board when we were looking for your support and love for trying to get our stadiums built over here. But he did a good job of rallying the support with the extra session and making that all happen. Is this challenging for him politically that now the owners are coming back and saying, no, give us a little bit more here as well? Does there fallout for Governor Kehoe politically on that front? Or does he get to say, listen, we've done what we can do and it's not my fault?
I mean, I think if you lose something as beloved as the Chiefs, that there's inevitably fallout. And we do see this sort of, rural and urban divide with a lot of areas sort of having a resentment towards St. Louis and Kansas City. But there is a lot of love for the Cardinals and the Chiefs all across the state. So I do think that there's a downside to this. There's also the economic side. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a big investment to invest in these stadiums, you get a return on that investment from jobs, from the surrounding communities that have jobs, hotels, tourism, all of that. And so, when a family comes in town to see a Cardinals game, all of St. Louis benefits from that economic influx.
So we're now going back to the national scene. We're now, a half a year into the second President Trump presidency. And there's been some volatility, right? We saw the tariffs, the markets didn't like it, but now the markets are setting records better than ever. There was a lot of pushback and seemed to be a lot of discord around the immigration policy that is continuing, but there hasn't been enough to change what the administration's intention is to continue doing this. When you look back on this objectively at 30,000 feet, it looks like to me big change can happen with President Trump at the helm, and there's not much that the opposition can do about it because there seems to be a lot of will to carry out what his ideas and ideals are. What's your perspective?
President Trump is the undeniable leader of the Republican Party. We saw this in this vote where, folks like Josh Hawley came out and said, I'm not going to vote for something that cuts Medicaid. But in the end, everyone capitulated and they were able to get this done by the deadline they set. And so it was a huge victory for them. But I do think that, big change also can result in big backlash. So President Trump is getting historic things done, like you said. In this budget bill, the ICE budget gets an extra $100 billion. And put that in perspective, prior to that, their annual budget was $8 billion. So he's really investing in the things that are important to him and attacking the things that he doesn't like. So losers in this bill include higher education, green energy, hospitals, lower income Americans, and the winners include corporate America, folks like that, higher income earners. And so I think that he's really been successful in carrying out his initiatives. And we're only 6 months in, like you said.
Okay. Anita Manion, we always love having your perspective and insights here on the show. Professor of Political Science at University of Missouri, St. Louis. Thanks so much for taking the time to come down and give us a midsummer update on all things related to politics. All things related to your basement and basement waterproofing. The people to turn to there are our experts at Woods Basement Systems. Been around since going on their 40th year of doing great work for families all around the St. Louis area, helping them hold on to the value of their home and to keep the damage that water can happen. They come into most basements in St. Louis if you live here long enough. the Woods Basement Systems can make sure that that damage isn't long-term or impacts your ability to enjoy all floors of your house during the time you live there. And they do so many other things as well that impact your positive experience of being a homeowner in our region. woodsbasementsystems.com, or reach out to them today, 618-708-4055, and tell them that we sent you.
Your dentures no longer fit? Maybe you're missing a tooth or several teeth. Visit Dr. Bowen for Simply Secure Dentures and Dental Implants, the cutting-edge, high-quality dental implants that replace all the teeth in your mouth, and it starts as low as $7,000, not the $35,000 that others charge. If you're only missing a few teeth, Dr. Bowen can permanently replace those with something you don't have to take in and out of your mouth. Learn more at simplysecuredentures.com and get the care you need and the teeth you want at Bowen Dental Care or simplysecuredentures.com.
I'm Mark Cantor. Here's why you can count on Cantor Injury Law.
My name is Michelle. I'm a litigation paralegal at Cantor Injury Law, and you can count on Cantor because we are smart, honest, and hardworking.
I'm Kevin Glenn, and a partner here at Cantor Injury Law. You can count on Cantor because we make your cause our cause.
No fee if no recovery. Please visit CantorInjuryLaw.com or call us at 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hi, it's Martin Kilcoyne for my friends at Triad Bank. Triad Bank is a big sponsor of the Big 550 Shop Local. Shopping local provides jobs, services, and taxes for our local communities. My friends at Triad Bank encourage you to shop local whenever possible.
It's the half-price sale at Miller Furniture and Mattress, now extended through Sunday, July 13th.
I'm Mark Miller, owner of Miller Furniture, your home for quality American-made furniture since 1927. Right now, save half off our list price on all in-stock items, plus half off custom orders from Flex Steel, Smith Brothers, and Amish-made furniture and more.
And get 0% interest financing up to 60 months. See our fully stocked Flex Steel galleries and the area's largest selection of Amish-made furniture, plus half off our new outdoor furniture gallery.
It's half price on any Chatham & Wells mattress when you purchase an adjustable base. Plus, try out our very comfortable premium Stearns & Foster and Tempur-Pedic mattresses.
Visit any of our 4 locations in Belleville, Fairview Heights, Lake St. Louis, or Ellisville and save on over $8 million of inventory. You'll see why we were voted Retailer of the Year by the Home Furnishings Association.
Don't miss the half-price sale at Miller Furniture, extended for one final weekend through July 13th.
Are you retired? Are you thinking about retiring? Who is helping you with retirement? Might be time to check out the show When Retirement Happens, hosted by Kevin Lloyd of Legacy Wealth Advisors. Saturday at 1, Sunday at noon on the Big 550 KTRS.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Steve, will you agree with me that the first hour of the Frank and Jill show is one of the fastest hours in the history of hours?
I am telling you, it has gone by fast. I'm solo tomorrow, so I certainly hope I think, and other people think, and Connor thinks, that it goes by fast
that you'll
tomorrow,
be getting
too.
text after text saying, thank goodness Jill is gone. No, I'm heading off as soon as we get off the air today, driving up to Iowa for my beloved nephew's nuptials this weekend, getting married, and big family get together with the wedding, get to spend time with both of my daughters and husband and significant others, and get to see my folks. And so it's going to be a darn good weekend, but I'll miss being with you guys, Connor and
Well,
Steve.
tomorrow, Steve, is really a practice for you for when you're filling in for McGraw.
So the week of the 28th, and I'm happy to do it, and I'm glad that Mark Dorsey asked me to do it, to fill in for McGraw that week. Now, I came in yesterday thinking I've got 3 hours to fill on a daily basis that week. And then I found out I've got 4
You were
hours
informed
to
there
fill.
was actually 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah, I watched you
That's a
walk down
lot
the
of
hall to
Steve.
confirm what Connor and I
Well,
said.
you know, I
it's
just thought
actually
maybe you were
4 hours,
punking me.
Steve.
I didn't, I thought you were having fun with me.
Yeah,
But
I mean, if you wanted to, you could show up for the 5 o'clock show, too.
there's a 5 o'clock show?
Yeah.
Yep. Sir Carl. Carl the
Nobody
intern
needs
does a
5
great job.
hours of Steve Savard in one day, period.
I think our Royal Banks
No.
of Missouri text line would dissent from that statement. Many people saying welcome back. I love this one as well. Welcome to New Meli Defiance, God's country. Good.
My mother-in-law has
point.
been out there for, 13, 14 years.
Okay, so she
And
wasn't.
she's not coming back. She loves it.
No, it is beautiful. Got the best of both worlds, everything at your fingertips, but also some really beautiful natural vistas as well. So a couple of you mentioning that you're watching us today on YouTube, as we want you always to. And Connor, if folks go to YouTube, put in the Frank and Jill Show, and then they have to just make sure they click on the live icon and they can watch the show live, right?
You just got to go to the, you can go to the Big 550 KTRS YouTube channel, YouTube page, and it should pop up right in the front, but if it's not there, if you tab over to the live section, it'll show up.
And those shows are all there archived as well, so if there's one that you missed earlier in the week and you want to go back and listen to an interview, you have the opportunity to do it there on our YouTube channel, or go to ktrs.com, and under the podcast section, there's a lot of stuff there as well. Coming up a little bit later in the show, Have a Cow Cafe. It's a great restaurant, someplace that I love to go. I know our own Heidi Glaus loves it too. Frank's a big fan. You're going to love meeting Steve St. Pierre, the owner, and the story behind the incredible, not only food they have at this place, but the mission behind what they do, Steve. I think you're going to absolutely love it.
You sold me on it with the teas before, as we were preparing for the show. What they do with, I don't want to give it away, but people who've been incarcerated. I remind people all the time, our penal system is supposed to do two things: punish and, oh, by the way, rehabilitate. And that makes society better when you do that. So let's not just throw away the key. Let's rehabilitate people and make them better members of society.
We forget that last part quite a bit. And then a little bit later in the show, Kim Belorci, she is just a dynamite. She's a nationally acclaimed speaker, a lawyer, college communication professor, executive coach. We've had her on the show, but not for a long time, and you guys have loved her. She just has very practical advice for how to live better lives. And today she's going to remind us about how sometimes making a mistake can be one of the best things we can do if we have the right mindset around it. She's also got a new book coming up. She's based here in St. Louis. We're very lucky to have her, and I think that's going to be a fun conversation to have as well. We are looking forward to that. Coming up in the second hour of the Frank and Jill Show with Steve Savard as well. I told you Anita Mannion could talk about politics and make it more interesting than just about anybody. I was right.
And even our crosstalk after we went off the air and the commercial break was fantastic too. So if I ever had the opportunity, I'm looking forward to picking her brain some more.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think about a poli-sci professor being somebody that you could have dynamic conversations with till late in the evening, but she definitely defies that stereotype and always makes it, for simpletons like me, makes it easier to understand some of the more complex nuances that relate to politics in our country today, and helps us kind of think about it from a variety of perspectives, which, believe it or not, people, no one likes to do this, but it's healthier for us to do that instead of just thinking about it from one perspective. Lots more of the Frank and Jill Show coming up. Don't go away. We'll be back after the news.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could it be lower testosterone?
Lower T.
Happens to most guys after 40. I was in the same boat until I started using Nugenix Total T2.
Total T2, the new one I've seen on TV.
Yep, it's the next generation testosterone booster for both free and total testosterone. It's packed with even more man-boosting power, sending nitric oxide levels skyrocketing in just 3 hours.
It actually works?
I feel like I'm in my 20s again. I've got more energy, better results in the gym, and things are even better in the bedroom. Send them a text and get a complimentary bottle.
Text now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the #1 testosterone brand at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, absolutely free. Text BOSS to 321321. That's BOSS to 321321. BOSS to 321321.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Brendan Weesey. The Big Sports Show.
I'm the dude, man.
Coming up on Thursday night's Big Sports Show, it's another starting 5 draft.
the best college football players in the last 25 years. Plus, we check in with our pal Stu Durando on the Billikens as they continue to put together their non-conference basketball schedule.
The Big Sports Show with Brendan Weesey
It's off the chain, Holmes.
on the Big 550.
KTRS.
The home of ABC News. KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW St. Louis.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. In Texas, the death toll climbing once again with 120 people deaths blamed on the catastrophic flooding last week, 96 of them in hard-hit Kerr County. ABC's Trevor Ault is in Kerrville with more on efforts to find the more than 150 still missing.
Volunteers from all over the country combing through the aftermath. We saw this rescue team from Florida.
This is a close look at what these rescue teams are dealing with. The dog picked up a scent down here, but there's so much debris and mud piled up. Right now, these teams are using chainsaws to cut through some downed trees. They're trying to dig through in hopes of finding a person.
In Los Angeles, a daring rescue operation of workers from inside an underground tunnel after it collapsed. The cause remains under investigation. ABC's Kana Whitworth is in L.A.
More than 100 first responders racing to the construction site in Carson around 8 p.m. Wednesday.
5 to 6 miles from our location.
The partial collapse at a wastewater project for LA County Sanitation Department, crucial to the aging system. The tunnel, which goes down 400 feet, collapsing 6 miles from the response site.
There were no severe injuries. A federal judge in New Hampshire issuing a preliminary injunction blocking the Trump administration from implementing the president's executive order on birthright.
The move by New Hampshire-based federal judge Joseph LaPlante allows for a class action lawsuit on behalf of all children born to parents in the country illegally or while here on a visa. The Supreme Court's ruling last month severely curbed a single judge's ability to issue nationwide injunctions, but class actions are a key exception to that new rule. Judge LaPlante has stayed his order for a week to allow for a likely appeal by the Trump administration.
ABC Stephen Portnoy. At Wimbledon, American Amanda Anisimova is heading to the finals after an upset in the women's semifinal, beating #1 ranked Aryna Sabalenka. Anisimova plays the winner of the semifinal between Iga Swiatek and Belinda Bencic. You're listening to ABC News.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code EARN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code EARN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
85 degrees at 11:03 with KTRS News. I'm Steve Potter. This week, Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe has been attending events across the state and holding bill signings for legislation passed by the General Assembly. Yesterday, he signed 13 pieces of legislation at the state capitol. This morning at Union Station, he signed House Bill 199, which allows a special entertainment district to be established there. At Anheuser-Busch Brewery, he signed House Bill 1041, which modifies current regulations relating to alcoholic beverages. Tomorrow, he'll be signing a bill at St. Mary's Catholic High School on South Grand dealing with the state's Educational Savings Account program, and another at the St. Louis Fire Department Engine House No. 1 on South Jefferson that provides college tuition assistance for public safety personnel and their dependents. After that, the governor is headed to Kansas City to sign a bill that will establish a Clay County Sports Complex Authority. And on Monday, the governor is scheduled to sign 11 more bills, including a measure that will make it illegal to export water outside of Missouri without a permit. Another North County community is joining the North County Police Cooperative. Yesterday, Velda City officials unanimously voted to make the North County Police Cooperative the sole provider of its law enforcement services. Velda City is now the 10th municipality in North County to join the cooperative. A former Baldwin police chief accused of illegally conducting a background check on private citizens without cause could lose his license.
The Missouri Department of Public Safety alleges Doug Schaeffler conducted at least 165 illegal searches of personal records between 2020 and 2023. The Missouri Administrative Hearing Commission, an independent panel that determines whether the Department of Public Safety has grounds to discipline, is set to review the case in December. A ruling by the commission could allow the Department of Public Safety to decide whether to put Schaeffler on probation, suspend his license, or revoke it permanently. Jill Enders, KTRS News.
The Ferguson-Florissant School District will need to borrow millions of dollars for the upcoming school year. The school board voted unanimously yesterday to approve a $25 million loan to cover the district's budget shortfall. And a series of informational hearings will be held across the state on property tax reform. The hearings are being held by the Missouri House Special Interim Committee and are part of the committee's ongoing work to examine Missouri's property tax system. The first hearing will be held on July 16th at the state capitol, and a hearing in the St. Louis area is planned August 20th at the center of Clayton at 5:30 in the afternoon. This KTRS Business Minute brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. You can place your order anytime at WKF.com. In the markets, the Dow is up 214 points at 44,672. NASDAQ up 1 at 20,613. And the S&P 500 up 14 at 6,278. In sports, Mizzou basketball will play Kansas State in an exhibition game from Columbia this October. The two former Big 12 rivals will play in Manhattan next year. And last night, the Cardinals lost to the Nationals 8-2. Our forecast is calling for a 20% chance for a shower sometime after 4 o'clock this afternoon, a high later near 93. Mostly clear skies tonight, an overnight low in the mid-70s, then mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 96. At 11:06, we have sunshine, 85 degrees at the Gold Tower at Westport. Steve Potter, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
And now,
feed me Seymour.
I like to eat.
It's time for the Kuna Food Service Weekly Special.
Yum, 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 yum.
Right here on KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
So glad you're with us here on the Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusumano out on vacation, Steve Savard sitting in. And Steve, you came on an absolutely fantastic day, not only because the second hour of the Frank and Jill Show is always a lot of fun, but Thursdays we have our weekly special where we feature a restaurant here in St. Louis. And I'm thrilled today, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to have Steve St. Pierre from Have a Cow Cafe in with us here. I am the lucky beneficiary of being a frequent customer of your fine establishment in the Gate District neighborhood in St. Louis, not just a very short distance from my house in Lafayette Square. And we watched you. We were so excited when you first started construction on the restaurant a few years ago. And now to see it be such a thriving part of the community with so many regulars, with people from out of town coming in because they've heard about it. It's a really special place. Steve, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You guys came from Edwardsville. You're an Edwardsville native, and we're in the toy shop business.
That's
initially.
Right.
Walk us through the transition from being beloved toy shop owners in the Edwardsville community to the restaurant business and farm owners and initiating some of the programs in the city of St. Louis that you have created.
Yeah, so living in Edwardsville, my past is I'm from wealth, security, I guess in that way, and have lived all over the world, all over the United States. Big cities, all the neighborhoods look the same. Wonderful. I had a good childhood. We were in Edwardsville, owned the toy stores there, and Christian was wrestling with my faith. It's probably a midlife crisis, but I'll say I was wrestling with my faith, and ended up in Africa, working with the poor there. And I was really undone by what I saw, and it challenged my faith deeper, in a deeper way. God calls himself a father to the fatherless, and I was talking to an orphan that had been suffering and had eventually, she passed away from AIDS. But it was a challenging moment for me, and I kind of crawled back to my little guest house in Kenya, and was reading some scripture, and it was the first time it hit me that God's promises, like that one, to be a father to the fatherless, come to expression through us as His people. And that moment changed everything for me, because I was living my life to see His expressions, kind of benefit me. And that's not a bad thing, but it's better than that. It's those expressions, His promises are for me now to bring to expression. I emailed my wife and said, hey, we need to move in toward the suffering in our own area. We're not moving here to Africa, I don't think. And by the time my plane landed, she had found our house where we live in the city of St. Louis, up Goodfellow in the Etzel-Hodemont neighborhood. And that was 20 years ago, around 2005. And it's been just that. My eyes were opened. I've seen so much. The night we moved in, 3 young men were shot with AK-47s eventually, or roughly in our front yard, just down a couple of yards down. And it's been 20 years of that. And as I was sharing, young kids have been shot on our street. I've dragged a kid out of the street that had been hit in the legs, and our door's been kicked in, carjacked, all of those different things, a gun against my head. But still being able to stay there and say, okay, how do we bring to expression good in a place that struggles for what's good and right?
And the restaurant has helped in that process.
And so a challenge from one of the young men, gang members in that neighborhood, we were talking, and he said, hey, I run with a gun because nobody will hire me. And my challenge came out of that to him of just, well, I love you, I wouldn't hire you. And, well, what does it take? And I said, well, you got to love your enemy. And that's kind of the motto of our restaurant. As we had a conversation about that, what that meant, he said, well, that's crazy. So that's why we named it Have a Cow as well, just to kind of throw it all at you. Don't have a cow, don't be crazy.
2 great concepts, farm to table.
Yeah.
And reminding people that we block people up to punish, but also to rehabilitate. Yeah, and hopefully we give people a chance. So you're doing that. I want to talk about your menu. I looked at your menu. Okay?
Yeah.
You brought some goodies in here today. I'm a guy who's kind of shifted away from red meat and all that most of my life. Now, I'm a fish, chicken, fowl guy for the most part. I still love great brisket. You have an item here called slightly spicy brisket sandwich.
It's over there.
Oh, you're kidding me.
All for you.
Jill's like blocking me, saying I'll fight you for it. No. Tell me about that item. Tell me about what's good on your menu. Tell me about why people, beyond what you're doing for the community, why people should frequent your establishment.
So the idea was to the challenge from this young man was to start something that I've never done, and to bring guys in and train them up in loving their enemies. And so I had never touched a cow, and in 2017 bought my first cow, and I had never done a restaurant, and so that kind of thought, well, I'll bring the beef to the restaurant. So the idea was to raise beef, bring it, local beef, bring it to the restaurant, and have good beef products, and then also just a good menu. So I would say our burgers and our brisket, it's an oven smoked brisket. Tom Schumann is our chef. He is absolutely incredible and has, again, I keep using brought to expression, but has brought to expression our vision in food.
Yeah,
so
he sure has. If you guys haven't been there before, it's a new restaurant in a historic neighborhood. Just beautiful facility, and I've run into people in there who go every single Saturday. Group of friends get together. People who brought friends in from out of town because they wanted to be there. We're talking about Have a Cow Cafe. If you're just joining us, Steve St. Pierre, the owner, and one of the things that has been part of the mission finish your mission statement for us, because I love it. It's a good one.
The one on my back
Yes.
here, yeah, love coffee. So we roast our own coffee. So love coffee, love burgers, love your enemy.
Yeah, it's great. And one of the things that you guys do, in addition to providing great food and a great community space for people to gather and eat good food, is you have historically hired folks who have a hard time getting hired, including those who've been incarcerated, train them to be a bridge from one life, hopefully, to another life. And it's had its ups and downs, but in general, it has to be pretty fulfilling.
It has been really, really a wonderful thing to see it happen. I was talking about the place that we're at down by Lafayette Square. We call a bridge community. And so the whole goal is to bring people that, are in rougher circumstances together with people that maybe have a lot of resource and create a space where we can eat together in that way and leisure together. And it really has worked out. We have a very diverse clientele. It's been a lot of fun to see people enjoying the space and the food. We also have full breakfast and full lunch all day.
Mm-hmm.
Pancakes and waffles and eggs and omelets.
And I won't need to go to the ATM or sell off some property to afford a meal, I would guess, over there. I'm
we
guessing
are
it's
probably a little pricey.
Uh-oh.
But,
no, not at all.
I feel like we're in line with where we need to be.
Jill would say you're worth it.
Well,
1,000%. I mean, you're right in line with what it cost everybody to go there.
Well,
and you also have an adorable.
Everything's gone up.
You have a great store in there as well with a lot of fun little gift items. I've been known to run down and be like, "Oh, I'm going to a dinner party and I need to take something," so I'll run down
It's
the
from
street.
our Toy Store days.
Yeah, I was going to say, what
That's
made you
right.
decide, gosh, running a restaurant, is it hard enough? And a farm, let me go ahead and add a little store to the mix as well.
Yeah, the whole idea was to be a farm store, and I was going to have beehives and chicken coop products and things like that. But it's become more of a kind of a little farm store of candles and just trinkets, fun stuff, toys. Yeah.
Your cinnamon rolls are second to
There's
none.
one of those over there.
And
too.
I have a wonderful neighbor who is just excellent. And when I need to give him a quick thank you, he doesn't like us to do anything for him, but I'll just show up, knock on his door, and say, "I have some mail for you," and I deliver one of your cinnamon rolls, and I get in his good graces for the time being and many months to come.
No, I just want to make sure that it's Have a Cow.
Have a Cow Cattle Company.
Yeah, we had
is
a
the full name.
a texter
Yeah.
wanted to know the restaurant name.
Yeah, Have a Cow Cattle Company, 2742 Lafayette.
And somebody else texting and say, "Love Have a Cow. So
Aw.
glad you're on today
That makes
as
me
well."
happy.
What's the future look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we actually have recently, a week ago, sold the farm. It proved to be more, I was always working. So we've had the farm for 8 years. I still have cattle. They are being fed out for the restaurant, kind of a tough, brutal business. And I will keep buying cattle, but I just won't be able to. I just couldn't sustain the farm and the restaurant together. So, yeah, and then, heck, we'll see what I get to do with this extra time. One of the ideas is to build chicken coops and kind of the original dream and sell them at the restaurant and have some chickens in the backyard back there behind some fence and still be a urban farm.
Yeah, really, really cool. It's always fun to see you, Steve, and thanks so much for coming in so we
thanks for
could
letting me come.
So we could hear your story on our weekly special segment. It is it's inspirational in many, many ways. Our friends at Altair Travel and Cruises want you to be inspired by the idea of traveling because they know it's good for our psyche to have something to look forward to know that we need to change the channel on our brain. When I talk about that with my clients all the time, when you're under pressure and stress, and that's where burnout can set in. Taking a trip or getting away can be a really good way to shift gears, to recharge your batteries and feel like you got a new lease on life and what all that it has to offer. And Altair Travel and Cruises makes the planning part of the trip so easy. It takes the stress, it takes the overwhelm that sometimes can come with thinking about planning that perfect trip. AltairTravel.com, 314-968-9600. That's Altair Travel and Cruises.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Heidi here for Premier U. Everybody is talking about the miracle weight loss drugs, semaglutide and tirzepatide. Studies show an incredible average weight loss of 20% body weight. Premier U offers the generic equivalents to the breakthrough GLP-1 weight loss drugs at a fraction of the price of competitors, as low as $3.99 a month, and they're available right now. Call Premier U at 618-7-WAIT. Mention Heidi and receive $100 off your first month. Telehealth consults available, located in Swansea and South County, or premierumed.com.
There are some common side effects for both semaglutide and tirzepatide, including nausea, vomiting, constipation, bloating, diarrhea, and lack of appetite. Learn more at premierumed.com.
The University of Missouri St. Louis is committed to providing top-ranked education. More than 80% of our students receive financial aid. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more and explore your financial aid options at more.umsl.edu.
Hey, it's Heidi, and I feel very lucky to love where I live. And I know Lauren Risley feels the same. And her team at Lauren Risley Realty wants you to experience that same great feeling. One of their mottos at Lauren Risley Realty is love where you live or move. Dream homes are their specialty. Actually, they do a lot of things right, because when you buy or sell a home, it's not just a transaction. What the Lauren Risley team does is build relationships, and I've seen that firsthand. So if you have plans to buy, sell, invest, or just have a question about any of it, call Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684. That's 314-775-0684. You can also email Lauren at hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com.
Foundation cracks come in many different shapes and sizes, vertical, horizontal, diagonally. Is that crack just a crack, or is that crack going to lead to a leak? You need to know the answer. Hi, everybody. McGraw-Milhaven here for Cornerstone Structural Repair and Waterproofing. Who do you call? Who can you trust? Cornerstone Structural Repair and Waterproofing. Call my friend Dale. He is the industry leader. They will accurately assess and fix your crack permanently. 314-262-6277 or stlouisfoundationrepair.com.
Hi, Matt Kearns, president of St. Lou Fringe. Our festival, St. Louis' stage for new works. Grab a festival pass and meet me August 11th through 17th at STL Fringe Fest 25 to see great dramas. Sex educator, writer, and performance artist David Wraith joins Fringe to deconstruct his racial, sexual, and gender identity through the lens of his complicated relationship with his late mother, and a powerful new show called Mommy Issues. It's a must-see. Grab passes and tickets for STL Fringe Fest today, and I'll see you at the Fringe, stlfringe.org.
The Bommarito Automotive Group has been your number one choice for all your automotive needs for over 51 years. They have 20 franchises with a location in every neighborhood. You can learn more about the Bommarito Automotive Group, see their entire inventory, and shop online at bommarito.com.
Want a song?
You're on my mind like the song on the radio.
Want a quote? It's the song and quote of the day on the Frank and Jill Show. Right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Welcome back, everybody. Frank and Jill's Show, 11:23 time check on a Thursday, a hot and humid one in St. Louis. It is July after all. We should not be surprised. I'm Jill Farmer. Steve Savard sitting across from me today. I'm very glad to have you in here. Are you feeling hungry yet about hearing all that food talk?
I can smell it. I can absolutely smell it.
Are you a breakfast, lunch, dinner guy? Is there one that's a favorite? Or
I subscribe to the theory that breakfast has got to be the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Breakfast is going to fuel you for the rest of the day.
And what do you love to eat for breakfast?
Well, people would be horrified if they would know what I usually eat, but it's a lot. Basically, it's an oatmeal with it's a cup of oatmeal, bowl of oatmeal, a cup of it, with blueberries, and then a protein source, which sometimes is chicken, maybe tuna in the morning. I know that sounds disgusting to a lot of people.
Oatmeal with tuna and blueberries.
Yeah.
Mix them together, or do you eat them separate? Yeah.
Mixed together.
right.
Or
I gotta tell you, I'm one of those people
eggs.
that thinks it's disgusting.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Well,
surprised.
you're a very disciplined eater. I know that just even in our couple of days of talking about it. Since I am a woman of a certain age, I keep saying, people are like, Jill, how do you do multiple jobs? And I said, my real part-time job that got added to the mix here in the last year or so is eating enough protein every day. That has become another job. And so I have been known to, these days, throw some turkey and chicken into my breakfast repertoire as well, which I never had done at any point in my life. Usually with eggs or with something that gives me a little fiber too. I don't eat it with oatmeal, but I'll have a little oatmeal and then some turkey on the side as well, which is a new phenomenon for me.
Here's a little hack for people that I've come across lately too. Eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables throughout the day. If you're going to eat anything in order at a meal, now there's research to suggest eat your vegetables first. The fiber and everything in it will then help your body process the protein and carbohydrates. If you've got all three on your plate, the best order to eat, according to recent research, vegetables first, protein second, carbs and starches third.
Yeah, I knew about the carbs and starches third, but I didn't realize that about the veggies first. It makes sense. It's how we lived in our household.
It's not how everybody, I believe me, I don't put it in, I caught myself the other day just eating a little bit here, and I said, you're not practicing what you preach, but.
Yeah, but even Dr. Rick admitted to us, he said, he understands the nutritional dynamics better than just about anybody. And he said still that ice cream in the freezer many nights is still calling to him no matter what. So he's perfect. Speaking of things that are not so healthy for us, I don't know if you guys know this, July 10th is Pina Colada Day, National Pina Colada Day. Are you guys Pina Colada fans at all?
I am.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, guess where the Pina Colada originated?
New Orleans.
Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it originally came from. Do you like a pina colada?
I don't partake of them very often, but I've had them before, and they didn't disgust me. No, they're very tasty.
I am in general don't do well with sweet drinks.
Right.
Is it because I perhaps overindulged in those in earlier seasons of my life? Maybe. So I don't do them very often, but I thought maybe in honor of this National Pina Colada Day, we would listen to the Pina Colada song, otherwise known as Escape, from back in 1979. Rupert Holmes was the artist behind this mega hit in the late 70s. I have to say, I have a few qualms with the theory behind the song. The whole
it's about like him cheating on his wife.
Yeah,
right?
I decided she wasn't great. She must have decided I wasn't great. We both took out personal ads, and then we said, guess what? We were star-crossed lovers meant to meet in our mutual defiance of our vows to each other.
Well, you'll be happy to know that was his only top 10 hit. So at least he didn't cash in that much off anything else.
Again, I don't think it's a song that would probably make the charts in 2025, but talk about overplayed music in 1979.
It hit number one in 1979.
I mean, do you remember it? It was.
Oh, absolutely. That song's been around. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and you think of it as kind of this. Again, it's more of an ode, a diatribe, maybe than it is a song.
Well, there you go, listening to lyrics, Jill. Just enjoy the music.
And I don't think I was at the time. I remember slow dancing out at the ag ground dances to this for sure, and I was not.
You're the cerebral music listener.
I was not dissecting in any way, shape, or form. What's your favorite genre of music? You mentioned you like to listen to tunes.
I like a little bit of country western. I like a lot of classic rock, mostly classic rock.
What era is your
Well,
era?
I grew up, I would say, I had older brothers and sisters, so I would say from the late 60s, and when I was probably too young, through the 70s, was never really a big 80s music fan, even though I was in college there. There were some great acts. I would say 70s. If you on my Sirius XM. 70s on 7 is probably the most popular.
Are you a live music guy? Do you like to go to a
Not
concert?
particularly, no. Not really. There's a lot of people, and I don't think live music matches up to studio music. I'm the guy that likes to hear the studio music, the perfect version. I tell you, I was really disappointed. I grew up a huge Steely Dan fan, monster Steely Dan fan. When they came, I started coming out after years on a tour in 1993. I saw them when I was working in Connecticut. And I forgot what a studio band really sounds like live.
Yeah, they're really a studio.
You're exactly right. I mean, it sounded live. It sounded nothing like, and it took a lot to get those guys to go back on a tour.
I would say that I think the three of us are on the same page with that. Would you say, Connor, that it's the expense, the navigation of just the mass of humanity, the matter that I if I want to see the act, I want him to sound as good as I've ever heard him, and I want to be really close for the experience. So I tend to not, unless it's a small venue and it's somebody that I want to be exposed to because somebody's given me a great recommendation, that can be fun.
Yeah, I do have exceptions. If there are guys that there are acts that put on great shows. We talked about this earlier. Paul McCartney supposedly puts on a remarkable show, even into age 80. For years, Springsteen's reputation was the guy's unbelievable for 3 hours.
The Who's very good.
Keeps doing encore. I happen to love Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar in St. Louis, if you're not aware, that's a special bond. I saw him at the amphitheater over here at the Hollywood Casino twice because a buddy of mine was an even bigger Sammy Hagar fan than I was. He puts on a remarkable show. So it's not like I've never enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the smaller. I saw Eddie Money in the 80s at the Westport Playhouse right here in this building.
Wow.
In an intimate setting. I was a big Eddie Money fan in college. I like live music when it's in a more intimate, smaller setting.
Okay, good to know. Do you, because you've got, sons who are of a different generation, do you get exposed to newer music much either through them or through the grandkids?
The only thing that came along late for me was country. I was not into country music until
Springfield,
about 2010.
You were in
No,
country
this
music
happened
land?
in my wife's. We were in Florida on vacation, and all I had was my wife's iPod, and Kenny Chesney came on with the song "Summertime."
Yeah, fun.
And that song turned me on to modern country music. I'm still a guy from, but we did see Willie Nelson in concert in Cape Girardeau a couple years ago. I was hoping to see him and Merle Haggard together. Merle had just died, unfortunately. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. But I do enjoy some country music as well now.
Very cool. So speaking of music, quote of the day today, this was something that I ran across that I thought was kind of interesting. Orville Wright died January 30th, 1948. Kenny Loggins was born January 7th, 1948. That means the guy who invented flight and the guy who sang Danger Zone from Top Gun were alive at the same time for just a minute.
What a world.
A couple of others. The quotes are in the a little more lighthearted theme today. One way to find out if you're old is to fall down in front of a group of people. If they laugh, you're young. If they panic, you're old. And I think that's starting to happen to me. Unfortunately, my kids are going, "Mom, are you all right?" instead of just laughing when I fall. Right. And then the final one, don't give up on your dreams. If cauliflower can be pizza and zucchini can be noodles, you too can be anything at all that you want to be. I think that's pretty true. Are you a zoodle guy? Do you eat any zucchini noodles ever?
No.
Don't
eat that.
I went through a phase, and then I quickly got through it because I realized life was too short to eat those.
Yeah, I went through a phase where if I was eating pizza, I ate cauliflower pizza.
Samesies.
And no, I decided if I'm going to splurge, I'm going to forget gluten, and I'm just going to go ahead and splurge.
Exactly. If you're eating the pizza, let's just, darn it, go ahead and have the pizza. Speaking of which, if you're going to do something that you enjoy that will deliver some excellent results, Miller Furniture, the place to go this week, if you want to see one of the greatest selections of outdoor furniture and one of the biggest selections of mattresses in our area. The Fairview Heights store has both of those. And I know we need to upgrade some of our outdoor furniture. There was some, around COVID time, we started spending more time outdoors. We purchased some stuff, from that internet company influenced by the cheap ads. Looked like the prices were just so darn good. Well, that furniture has lasted about as long as I should have expected it to last if I ordered it over the internet at a ridiculously cheap price 5 years ago. It's not long for this world. And so we are in the process of trying to get some pieces that we can have for the long haul to be able to enjoy that outdoor space in our home. If it's your outdoor space, your indoor space, you're tired of that couch where you have to sit in one section of it, otherwise you're about to hit the floor, or the bed that kind of does that sandwich thing where everybody rolls to the middle. Life is too short for that. And if you want to go where you can get the highest selection of great priced furniture, made in America, no tariff issues, no prices going ups and downs, just good quality furniture at a great price, Miller Furniture is the place to go. Locations in Fairview Heights, Lake St. Louis, at the Meadows, Ellisville off Manchester Road, and then in Belleville, Illinois, with a brand new showroom in their flagship location. Do a little shopping today online at millerfurniture.com, MUELLER furniture.com, and then make an appointment with yourself to go visit one of their stores and do a little shopping. You'll be very glad you did. Right back with lots more after this.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
We're not talking about a record heat here, but it is trending a little hotter over the next couple of days. Most of us are going to feel this. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy today. I'm going to take us up to 93 this afternoon, but it will feel like 96 at its worst. And once again, much like yesterday, a slight 10 to 20% chance of a thunder shower this afternoon. I expect dry times under mostly clear skies tonight, really fairly warm, down to 75 for the low. And then hotter on Friday. In fact, tomorrow probably the hottest of the next 10 days. 95 with a heat index just above 100 in the afternoon. And one more time, a slight chance of a spot thunder shower in the afternoon. Looks like some higher chances of rain around here on Saturday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers on the Big 550 KTRS.
John Beal Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
A message from the master. If you are looking for that one-of-a-kind gift this year, come on in to Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. Let Richard draw your future present for somebody you love. This special engraving lasts a lifetime. At the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
At Midland, we know sometimes all it takes is a moment. A moment for an idea to spark, or to make it happen. A moment to find your dream, or build one. A moment to start your forever, or at least start planning for it. Whatever moments you have, Midland is here for them and can help you make them. Midland, brighter together. Visit us at midlandsb.com. Midland States Bank is member FDIC.
It's Julie Buck here to tell you that the patio is open at Bishop's Post right next to Chesterfield Mall. Get your reservations in now and go to Bishop's Post. You will love it. Tell them Julie Buck sent you, bishopspost.com.
We sell siding, windows, doors, and decking by the truckload. My name is Julius Krasanik, celebrating 53 years in this business. Our company is Wholesale Siding Depot, and our seasoned customer service group has over 200 years of combined siding, window, door, and decking knowledge. My grandson Elijah says,
"Are you kidding me?"
The brands that we sell are durable, maintenance-free, and energy-saving. Featuring Anderson, CertainTeed, Viwinco, Provia, Masonite, TimberTech, and others. Offering the best selection of styles and colors available in this industry. And better yet, our prices are wholesale every day. Last, our Peace of Mind initiative also includes a free contractor referral service to take care of your installation concerns or needs. You are just one click away from keeping it local, family, and professional. Please visit WSDepot.com. That's WSDepot.com.
Mom, what do you always say?
There's nothing sadder than jewelry that sits in a drawer.
That's why we are proud to offer jewelry repair on site at Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. We know that your jewelry is important to you, and we take that part of our job very seriously. Visit us at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend or learn more at wowdiamonds.com.
How good is Connor
Attaboy,
McCarthy?
I said this before when I was filling in with Frank. Man, he is good. He's quick. He's fast. Steely Dan.
And that, or you guys are pretty simple and easy to please. Both of those things
There's some of that too.
Are true. Backed by popular demand, Kim Belorchi, she is an executive coach, a lawyer, a college professor, communications specialist, and an author. She's been on the show with us in the past to help us be able to communicate with people who have different views in life than us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about something that you've been really helpful. You've been really effective in helping many of your whether they're corporate executives or just average folks that you work with, Kim, be able to understand how mistakes often are not the roadblocks or the train derailments that we make them into in our life. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you.
So you actually on LinkedIn, with your huge following of people in corporate and business life who are successful, who follow you, you like to talk about things that other people would call, I'll use you use a little bit more salty term to describe them as mess ups in their lives, and why those often are not as bad as they think they are if people have the right frame of mind to think about them. Why is it that you bring the emphasis and focus to that, and why do you think it helps people?
You know, I think that we spend a lot of time being told how to do things a certain way. And look, nobody wants to be wrong and no one wants to look stupid. And so I think there's this idea that we have to be right all the time. And the reality is we're human. And the only way to grow is through doing things we've never done before. And so while I think, and I understand why it's very popular to celebrate our wins, it's equally important that we are comfortable with making mistakes and modeling that, especially when we're leaders, to let people know, hey, it's going to happen and we can learn a ton when it does. Because if we're not making mistakes, we're not evolving. We're only doing the things we've always done before, and then we're wondering why we're not growing and we're not improving. So I love highlighting it, and people actually find it so liberating to see, you know, mistakes kind of in plain view, because then they realize that they're not the only one and they don't feel like they have to hide their own.
Kim, Steve Savard here, and I could have used your coaching as a perfectionist, a guy who is incessantly hard on himself. I could have used your coaching early in your life as an athlete, because one little mistake was all I thought about. As I started in this business in television news, and Jill will know this, one of the things you learn from, just like in football, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. That what you watch film, before you move on to your next game in football, you watch what you did right and wrong in the previous game. In television news, you get better by critiquing yourself. You don't just wait for somebody else to do it. But as a youngster in this business, it was so hard for me because I looked at every critical imperfection, everything I did wrong. How do you coach a perfectionist through that obstacle to get better?
It's a really good point that you make. And listen, I'm a competitive Latin dancer, and I refused to watch my own performances for the first few years that I was competing for that very reason. All I would see were the mistakes. So I really empathize with that, and I know that's really tough for people. But the truth is, what I always tell people is that the mistakes offer us a better opportunity to learn than our successes. It's so good to feel like we've done something well, and I love that feeling. But when I can look at something I haven't done well and not look away, I'm going to learn more from that moment that's going to help me do it better the next time. And so when we don't overemphasize the importance of it, right? When we don't just pick the one thing that's really, really bad and go, oh my gosh, I'm so bad because of that. But we say, oh, that was the thing I did, and I'll do it better next time because now I've looked at it and I'm going to learn from it. It's just not that deep. And so, you know, not to make light of the feeling people have when they're wired for perfection, but we aren't robots and we're not human. And I work with high performers all the time. And one of the things we talk about is just, it's all information. The good is really great, and the things that aren't so good are information to help us do better the next time.
That's great. That's good advice. I think it was Garrison Keillor that said, if you're a writer, nothing ever goes wrong in your life. It's all just material. And I think using that same metaphor, when things don't go right in our life, it's just information for us to be able to use to hopefully move forward. I love the term that you use, and you write about it. I think you even have an upcoming book that all of us in St. Louis are going to be excited for you to see that you're writing here on this term called being strategically unruly. So there's one thing to be able to look at our mistakes and learn from them, but to be strategically to break the rules a little bit. You say that no matter how buttoned up your industry is, law, business, other components of life, that getting strategically unruly is actually what can unlock the magic. What do you mean by that?
So everybody's been given a playbook. We've all been told there's a particular path to success. However you define it, whatever you've been told, every one of us has been shown a way to get where we want to go. And it's based on someone else's success in the past, right? So we have sort of a playbook that we've been following, and I did this too. But the reality is that not everything in any playbook or in any path is going to serve you because it doesn't understand your unique gifts and talents. There's 9 billion people on the planet. We're all different. And every one of us has a different blend of talents and gifts that we're going to bring to any situation. And so my advice is not ever throw it all out the window, burn it all down. Sometimes that's appropriate. But really, you're looking very strategically at whether the rules and the systems that you're sort of blindly following are helping you. And they're actually helping you bring your best and show up in the biggest way so you can do the things you're really meant to do. And I encourage people to challenge them so that if they're not, that might not be a rule that you want to follow. We're talking about one today, which is I want to avoid making mistakes because I don't want to lose everything that I've built. On one hand, it makes a lot of sense to be careful because, of course, we want to protect what we've built. On the other hand, when we're trying to be, a differentiator in a market, we're trying to build something new. We're never going to build something new if we're only doing it the way it's always been done. And so challenging that idea always helps people get to the next level. So we're going to be unruly, but we're going to be really strategic about it in looking at it through the lens of, does this actually serve me and does this help me? Not just, we're going to throw it all away.
Yeah, a texter weighs in and says, I either win or I learn. That's great. I think that's perfect advice. The problem is implementing that. If you're not the person that deals with setbacks and you're embarrassed when you don't have success, it's just hard to ingrain that kind of philosophy in someone who isn't predisposed to that, pre-wired for that.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And look, this is not easy. I have always said this is tough because it goes against a lot of conditioning that we've been given our entire lives. And I firmly believe that we're designed to want to be kind of our biggest selves. And so anybody who's feeling a pull towards something more, anybody who wakes up and is like, I just kind of feel like there's more for me in my life, or I want to do a little bit more, or I'm feeling unsatisfied and I don't exactly know why. I always say, if you pay attention to that quiet voice and what it's telling you, there's something there for you that if you lean into that and push toward that, it's going to give you the courage. If you really, really, care enough to be uncomfortable and go for it, you can get to that next place. But is it hard to do things differently? 100%.
Is that what
when you aren't the person? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, if you're not somebody who's used to making these decisions, it's really, really hard. But, baby steps, right?
Yeah, really well said. And I was just going to ask you if that's when you're talking about in relation to sort of helping people be strategically unruly, is this what you're talking about when you're saying overcoming resistance? And I've heard you talk about and write about in the past that a lot of us, we think resistance when we're trying to do something and we meet up against resistance, it might mean it's time for us to change directions. But really learning how to work with resistance, accept that resistance allows us to move through it and get stronger through it. Is that what you mean by getting used to being uncomfortable with facing our mistakes?
100%. 100%. And it's one of the hardest things in the world to look at something and not look away from it, or to look at a change that you need to make and continue to walk through it when it's really uncomfortable, because unknown is always uncomfortable. I am never going to sit there and be like, yeah, change is awesome. It's so great, but we have no idea what's on the other side of it. It can be absolutely terrifying. And so, taking one step at a time toward it it's not for the faint of heart. And yet, when you know that you want to grow towards something, or something is calling to you, you want to be better at something, or you want to do something, the only way is to continue taking those steps in that direction. If you go backward, you might go back to what's comfortable or what feels safe to you, but you're going back to what you already know.
I always leave my conversations with you feeling a little more inspired, a little clearer in my direction, and grateful to have this time with you. If somebody wants to have you come speak at their company or at their organization to help integrate some of these ideas or learn more about what it is you do, what's the best place for them to get to connect with you?
My website is probably the best place, KimBelorci.com, or connecting with me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people and having conversations there, so either place.
Belorci is BOLOURTCHI, or you can text me on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126, and I'll send you that info as well. Thanks so much, Kim. We really appreciate you joining us. I know you're out of town on vacation, not here in St. Louis with us, so thanks for taking a break and having this conversation with us today.
My pleasure, as always. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
That was fun. Isn't she have just a great way of sort of like just drilling down?
Where was she when I needed this? Where was this when I sat in my 8, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock college classes worrying about Monday's afternoon film session, despite the fact I made 20 tackles? I missed one tackle. That just destroyed me.
Now that's the wisdom of getting older. We finally start to learn some of these things.
You learn to live with your mistakes.
Yeah.
You learn to say everybody makes mistakes, like she said. You got to live with it. It's easier said than done, though, when you're a headstrong 20-year-old.
Exactly, but I think the first step is accepting them, and the next step is what do I do with them.
But then you also hate when you start in this business, you start looking at yourself in your air checks and going, holy cow, I got to put a resume together of this?
Oh, yeah, listening to my voice, yeah, all those things.
Watching everything. Yeah,
but that's how you get better. I mean, and we both worked with people who really did enjoy that process of watching themselves, which is a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, that's a different problem. That's a whole different show.
100%. Well, one of the people that I love spending time with and learning from as well, in addition to our friend Kim, is our friend Ryan Raphael. He is, of course, the Medicare man. He is just number one when it comes to understanding Medicare and the best plan for you as you reach retirement or the age of 65 and or both of those things. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming. And Ryan breaks down the system. So many people say, I need some help with this, but I'm not sure who to trust. And that's why you need to go to somebody who has the objectivity like Ryan does to be able to tell you about all kinds of different options and ideas out there instead of just trying to sell you on one thing and convince you it's the right thing for you. You'll tell him what you need and he'll match you up with what you need. And amazingly, it's free to you. Under the law, his fees are paid by the insurance companies, not out of your pocket. He gives you his cell phone number to call him and set up an appointment with him. That's how much he wants you to know he cares about you directly. 314-368-6808 or visit MedicareManSTL.com.
Don't look now, but it's going to be warm out here pretty soon, and you're going to want to open up your window. The only problem is your window hasn't painted shut for a while now. That's why you need to call my neighbor, Larry, or his son, Joe. They run a company called The Window Store, and they've been in business now 35, 36 years. And what's great about The Window Store is that they are a St. Louis company. You often see these commercials where buy 4 windows and get the next 7 free. Well, guess what? When you compare apples to apples, The Window Store doesn't do any of that marketing stuff. It's very simple. You buy 1 window, you pay for 1 window. And when you compare apples to apples, The Window Store prices are significantly better. Every window is energy efficient. Every door is as good as can be. And all you get is great customer service and a great company. St. Louis owned, St. Louis operated The Window Store. WSWindow.net, 739-0002 or WSWindow.net. Call today. Tell them I sent you.
Hey, Heidi Glaus here, asking you to join us weekly as we present the KTRS Book Club, presented by the St. Louis County Library for readers of every generation. Books transport us anywhere our imagination wants to go. They are absolutely magical. The KTRS Book Club will introduce you to local and national authors, events, and special programs presented by the St. Louis County Library every week from 3 to 6 right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang. Join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 on the Big 550 for Animal Talk, where I talk about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals. Topics include nutrition, training, medical checkups, special guests show up now and then, and of course, I'll answer your questions. So join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 for Animal Talk on the Big 550 KTRS, the Animal Talk of St. Louis.
And now, a day in the life of Captain Paul Kopsky.
Another crash on westbound 44 past Jefferson, and there's an accident on northbound 270 at Gravel.
Bringing you the most accurate traffic reports in the St. Louis metro area.
One westbound lane of 255 is closed over the Jefferson Barracks Bridge.
Mornings, afternoons. We are the Big 550. Homegrown and locally owned. KTRS. Depend on it.
You mention it, and he has it done. And
I mean,
not just Fleetwood Mac, Christine McVie.
Ask and you shall receive. Plus, Connor, do you probably like his taste in music better than you like mine?
No, I like your taste in music. I like the 80s. But yeah, I like 70s rock a lot too.
Yeah, I do too. I just love music, honestly, in general, and I really do enjoy.
I have no musical
artists.
talent whatsoever. I have no artistic talent, no musical talent, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a disappointment to my mother, who once studied fine art at Washington University.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did she have both of those talents?
My mom had, not so much singing. She thought she had a great voice. She didn't.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom. But she definitely had the hand. She could sketch and draw anything. She ended up being out of necessity working as a seamstress,
Mm-hmm.
and she was very creative that way. But she never got to really fulfill her real artsy talents because of life and having 3 kids and having a lot on her plate. But,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
No, I inherited no artistic talent whatsoever.
My mom and my mother-in-law are both artists and teachers, and I think both of them would contend that it's not something you're just born with or not. And if you learn different techniques, that everybody has the ability to create art. I have to contend, even though I love their assertions and their dream of all of us having an inner artist within us, and when it comes to visual art or creating art, I have no manual dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to siblings of mine who could sit and think something in their head and draw it on paper, I never had that kind of a skill at all. And even doing stuff like sewing, when you don't have great manual dexterity, that's not
You're just more of like an
easy.
abstract artist.
It's
That's what
exactly.
you need
Thank
to.
you.
That's what you need to go with.
Abstract. I
Yeah.
would do stuff and projects with my daughter, and then my mom would say, "Oh my gosh," to my then 5-year-old daughter, "Peyton, did you draw that?" And I would say, "No, Mom, that was me. That was my work that you're noticing." As much older, but I do love music, and I'm a music appreciator. I don't know how
Same
much
here.
musical talent I have, but I mean I can play some instruments and read music and sing a tune, but I do. I had a little more propensity on the musical side than I did on the visual art side.
When I see something that people do well that I have no talent with, it's like dancing. I watch guys that dance now. I've always been that guy that had no rhythm. My mother just said, for somebody who is so athletically coordinated and inclined, you have 0 rhythm.
Mm-hmm. So will you dance?
0.
Even though
very,
you say you're not?
very little.
Because
That's a mistake. If I had to do one thing over again in the last 40 years, I'd learn how to get over the perception that I'm thinking people are looking at me and saying, geez, he needs to get off the dance floor, like Elaine Bennis.
Yeah, and our
Not
listeners,
as bad as Elaine Bennis.
Our listeners disagree with me, and because I have said to Frank, because he does not dance and thinks he should not dance as a public service to other people, and it's embarrassing. And my contention is, dancing is so good for our psyches. It's good for our bodies. It's good for it's such an expression of joy that whether you get over yourself, whether you're any good at it or not, just get out there and give it a try and do it. I love to dance. I love to dance with anybody, whether they're good or not. And I think it's just a good thing to do. But the listeners have said, no, Jill, you're wrong. Nobody wants to see that. If somebody can't dance, they shouldn't be out on the dance floor.
Sweet fancy Moses, they said on Seinfeld when Elaine danced. Sweet fancy Moses.
Yeah, I know. And that is I think that's scared generations of people off the dance floor, but it was one of the funniest things in modern comedic life for sure. Steve Savard, you're a blast. Thanks so much for making these 2 days go so well. Of course, we missed Frank, but having you in here has made it more fun. And I know you and Connor are going to do an excellent job on the show. Tomorrow, people will be texting and saying, leave those other clowns off.
I'll try to leave things as I found them, okay?
No,
I'll
them
leave
better.
them as I found them.
I like things left better than when you found them. So please, you have all the freedom in the world.
Thanks
to
for the
do
last
that.
2 days. Appreciate it.
It's been really great. You guys have a great rest of your day. John and Julie and Max up next on The Carney Show. And then Heidi, Josh, and Bob is back. And they're going to be remote at the City Museum today. So stick around, keep your dial right here, and make it a great rest of your day.
It's Sarah Haynes from The View. Today, stronger immunity and better nutrition are more important than ever. That's why Eggland's Best gives you and your family more. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, all helping you to maintain a strong immune system and better overall health. Plus, you get all that farm-fresh, delicious taste. These are no ordinary times, so why choose an ordinary egg? Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.